Okay, so the next song is Giant Steps. So this is a little bit more complicated, and but it's only 16 bars. 32 bars is a lot of most of the normal songs. So it's only 16 bars, and it has what we call a sequential chord progression, where the same kind of shape of the melody repeats, so that at first it might seem hard, but when you do it a few times, your hand is going to fall into place. And throughout this chord, there's going to be one specific dominant 7th sound, which is a 13th chord, which I will point out. So we're going to start off with a B chord, F sharp's the melody, so I'm going to add the 3 and the 7, which is D sharp and A sharp. Then we're going to a D chord, and I'm going to add the C, which is 7, F sharp is the 3rd. Then I'm going to the G chord, where B is the melody, and that is the 3rd, so I'm just going to add one note, the F sharp. And now I come to the 13th chord on the B flat 7. So that's kind of the jazzy chord, okay? So the G is the melody, and D is the 3rd, and A flat's the 7, and that's going to resolve to E flat. B flat is the melody, G is the 3rd, and D is the 7. So here comes a sequence that's going to happen throughout, where it's going to be an A minor 7, and the melody is the 9, so I'm adding the G, which is 7, and C, which is the 3rd. And then it goes to the D chord, A is the melody, and I add the F sharp 3rd, C is 7, and then it resolves to the G. So it's good. And for the G chord, D is the melody, so I'm going to add the B, which is the 3rd, F sharp was the 7. Then it goes to B flat 7, and A flat's the 7, D is the 3rd. Then it goes to E flat, G is the melody, which is the 3rd, so I'm just going to add the D. And then here we go with that 13th chord again, and the F sharp 7. D sharp is the melody, the 13. Now I add the A sharp and E, so you can hear that tenseness of it. Then it resolves to the B chord. So I'm going to add the 3rd, which is D sharp, A sharp with the 7. Now here's that sequential chord progression I talked of. On the F minor, G is the 9. I'm going to add the E flat, which is 7, and A flat is the 3rd. Then it goes to B flat chord, F's the melody, so I'm going to add the 3, which is D, and A flat is the 7. And it resolves to the E flat chord. B flat is the melody, and that's the 5th, so I'm going to add the G, which is the 3rd, and D. So that... And now it goes to the A minor D7 G, which I've already had one time. So B's the melody, G is the 7, and C is the 3rd. And back to D7, A's the melody, F sharp is the 3rd, and C is the 7. And resolving to the G chord. Again, D is the melody, B is the 7, and F sharp is the 3rd. So now it goes back to that 9th sound. On the C sharp chord, D sharp's the melody, so I'm going to add B, which is 7, 3. And this time when it goes to the next chord, he doesn't move the top note down, so he makes that a 13th chord. D sharp is the melody, A sharp's the 3rd, E's the 7, resolving to B, and F sharp is the 5th, so I'm going to add D sharp and A sharp. And then it's going to go to F minor, again, the sequence, so that's the 9. So I'm going to add the E flat, which is 7, A flat, which is 3. And on the B flat 7, that's the 13th again. So I'm going to add the D, which is 3, and A flat, which is the 7, resolving to E flat, where B flat is the 5th, G is the 3rd, and D is the 7. And then the turnaround chord, the melody is actually the 4. So I'm going to add E, which is 3, B, which is 7, and then I'm going to add the E, which is 7, and A sharp. So that little sequential part starts on the F minor, B flat, E flat, A, D, G. So from the beginning, keep in mind this is only 16 bars. So I'm just playing the chords. There's that 13th chord. 13. Okay, now the sequential. So because it is sequential, when my hand is in the right spot, I'm going to find that. So when my hand is in the right spot, after a while of doing it a few times, I'm going to be able to play that, and my hand is going to get used to knowing what the shape is. Because when we play out of a fake book, we don't really want to be looking at our hands. We want to be visualizing the music. Mistake it. Because a lot of these shapes are the same, my hand is going to find them. And just for the fun of it, let's see if we can play along with John Coltrane a little bit. So you see, like that's what I was doing. So I was comping. Say I'm a trumpet teacher, a saxophone teacher, and I wanted my students to do an exercise on this. I would just use those voicings to accompany them. And so I'm thinking of that 13th chord, and in popular music, the only people that use that type of chord would be Stevie Wonder and Steely Dan. So I'm thinking when I'm playing the song by Steely Dan called FM, I want to know what the melody is so I can voice my chord accordingly, where like a lot of people, they just play the chord that goes and they're not aware of the melody. So I just want to demonstrate you to this song. Then it goes. So what you heard in there is that 13th chord. On this part here, where we go. So this is the 9, 13. There's that major 7 chord. Then so you don't have to remember that. That's not part of the course. I'm just giving the sound of the 13th because I'm drilling it into you. You're going to sort of eventually recognize that sound. So this is a little bit more information than the other song, but as we go along, we're increasing the amount of knowledge you're gaining. But remember, you're just going through it and looking at the chart, adding the notes. You don't need to know what you're doing, but your hands are getting used to the shapes that they're playing, so that you can look at the music and read from a fake book with a high degree of skill, and that'll be good for when you have the neighbors over. They'll be impressed that you can play Giant Steps. Everyone knows it's one of the hardest tunes ever written. It's a solo one. But the melody, actually not that hard. Okay, so that's it for Giant Steps.